Welcome to the channel. Today I'm talking about something that we can learn as pagans from the Muslims and the Christians. I know it might not be a popular opinion, but that's how I feel. I'm the kind of guy who actually likes living in a country with lots of different people with different perspectives. I like diversity of opinion. Because if everybody is exactly thinking the same way, there's nobody showing us our blind spot and what we miss. So in this video I'm going to reveal what Christians and the Muslims talk about and focus on a lot, but paganism doesn't focus on it at all. I'm going to tell you why this one thing can solve most of our problems. It can solve it on an individual level, but it can also solve our problems on a societal level. And I'm also going to talk about why as pagans we don't talk about it. Well, what is this one thing, I hear you say? Well, drum roll please. It is family. Yes, starting a family specifically. Christians have this strong focus on starting a family. Muslims have this strong focus on starting a family. In paganism, I of course love paganism. I see these old ways being revived in Europe, in America, in South Africa, New Zealand, beyond, everywhere. And everybody's trying their best to honor the gods and the spirits of the land. And basically they're figuring it out, how it needs to be done. They're unlocking the secrets that are unlocked in our own blood and bones and bringing forth the old ways once more. And there's no place on earth and no time on earth that I'd rather be than here with you, being a part of this pagan revival. That being said, you don't talk about family a lot. And why is that? Why we don't have the emphasis on family in paganism? Well, first of all, a lot of us think that, like the Christians, that is just propaganda. You say, well, the priest just wants a lot of kids so he can have a strong army. What's wrong with having a big army? Might come in handy someday. And so you just think it's just propaganda. And another reason that as pagans, as this new old way that's coming back, we don't talk about family, is we've been bombarded over the past couple of decades in our media with images like these, telling us that like raising a child costs a lot of money. And when you read that when you're 17 or 19, and when you usually don't have any money, is, oh shit, I better wait to have children, I better not have children. And there are a lot of these articles out there. We often think there's diversity in our media, but in the Western civilization there's usually a couple of messages that get put out all over different media with the same message, including this one: children are bad for the environment. That's my personal favorite. And the other reasons why we don't talk about family as much is, well, sometimes I think in essence that pagans are a bunch of misfits. They're a bunch of outcasts. They're a bunch of wild people who want to find their own way. And when you want to find your own way, you don't want to limit yourself by an outside structure telling you you have to have children, you have to start a family. I think that applying pressure on that area is pretty useless. But it's the type of people we are. But I think that if you can start a family on your own, and if you're in that position to do it, I think it can solve most of your problems. And I'm going to illustrate that by telling you my personal experience, because I'm a father of 2 children, and let me tell you, for me that hasn't always been a very smooth journey. It wasn't always nice and smooth like the water behind me. Sometimes it was very difficult. When I first had my son 6 years ago, he's actually turning 6 today, I didn't really like it that much. I didn't like the sleepless nights. I didn't like the crying. I didn't like the whining. I didn't like that every single thing in my life had to revolve around this new life form that has been given to us. So I struggled with that real hard for about a year and a half. After a year and a half of being in a pretty dark place, I said, maybe this is manageable, having one child. And just when I was thinking that, my wife got pregnant with our second child. So when we got the second child, I went through it all over again. It's like, oh my God, 2 children. I can't deal with this. I know I'm whining like a little bitch, but that's how I felt. And it lasted for another year and a half where I thought I'm gonna fucking kill myself because I can't take this crying anymore. Because it used to be I'm very introverted, I'm very calm and relaxed, and I need my house to be calm and relaxed so I can recharge, so I can deal with the madness of the world. But I couldn't use my house to recharge anymore because in my house there was a lot of whining and crying and a lot of sleepless nights. And sleepless nights, man, if I could take away one thing in your life that I would guarantee that you will lose your effing mind, it will be your night's rest, by the way. Guaranteed to turn you borderline psychotic. So we actually had a third child, and we named that third child Jitte, which is Czechoslovakian for Jitrenka, and it means the morning star. Because I believe that for me personally, for the family, and perhaps when she gets older for the world at large, she will be like the morning star. What is the morning star? I don't know if you've ever really been through a dark night of the soul, if you've ever truly been depressed, and you lie at night worrying, being crazy and worried and depressed. You think all these dark thoughts, and when that happens about between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, suddenly the dark thoughts start to get less and there's a little bit lightness in your head. And you think like, yeah, well, it doesn't really bother me as much, and you can get a few hours sleep still. The reason that is the case is because the morning star has appeared in the night sky. I believe the planet is Venus. I hope I don't fuck this up. If I fuck it up, I'll put it here if it's something else. But Venus goes through the night sky and it's the morning star. It's also associated with Lucifer, but I wasn't going to name my daughter Lucifer or Lucy for sure. Would be fun, but I'm not going to do that. But it goes to, and it takes away your worries because it signifies at a soul level that a new day is coming. And not only literally does it tell you spiritually it tells you that a new day will come. And that's why your worries and the darkness in your life dissipate as soon as the morning star rises in the night sky. That's why I named my third child Jitte Jitrenka, the morning star. So, by the way, that little prophecy that I made for myself, some fish there, but was correct. Because I'm now very happy that I made it through all the darkness and I can be a happy dad, which I like to be, which I like to do. I actually came to the conclusion that having children can solve most of your problems. How can it solve most of your problems? I've said this before and I'll say it again. There are only two states that we reside in as human beings. There is connected and there is disconnected. When you are happy, when you are joyful, when you feel great, you open up, your heart opens and you're connected. And when you're depressed, when you're shameful, when you're angry, when you're anxious, when you worry, what happens is you close off. So the key to living a good life is to stay connected, to stay with an open heart. And when you go through these dark periods in your life, what you often think is, I need more. I need more of what makes me feel good. I need more time, I need more space, I need more money, I need more love, I need more attention. But you don't need more. You actually need less. Because the key of happiness is never making yourself happy. Because living for yourself closes yourself off. You come in this one state which leads to bad things. And you need to open yourself up to get to the good states. How do you open yourself up? Well, I guarantee that I don't care how fucked up you think you are. You're not that fucked up. Because when you receive your first child, you will love that child. And you will love that child in a way you have never loved anybody before. And congratulations. You have just created with the person you love a lifeline to keep you grounded and to keep your heart open. Because the answer to all of our problems on an individual level is never, I want this, I want, no. It's always, the key is always to love more, to to complain less, but to carry more, to open your heart more, and to do more for others. And there's nothing that will make that more evident than having children. So it will literally kick you off of that little narcissistic thing that we all have. I have it too. I struggle with it a long time. And to keep us connected. And when I was younger, I thought, life doesn't really matter. I can jump in front of a train and, if it doesn't work out, I don't care. But when you have children, you have the responsibility to those children. And that responsibility is so effing large that I always joke that it's a responsibility that carries on even in death. When you are a parent, you are not off the hook when you are dead. Meaning that they'll probably go to some psychic, like medium Beppy somewhere in a trailer park, and they go like with a glass, and the medium Beppy will start to channel the spirit of their dead father and their dead ancestor, which will be you when you're dead. And then you have to drag your dead ass to medium Beppy, and then you have to say, oh, I don't think that's a good idea, son, and then they of course don't listen to you. So even in death, you still have this responsibility, which means you have created a bond which is almost eternal. And for those of you who think like, well, I have a shitty childhood and I don't know if I can be a good parent. Did you know that you can actually change the past? It's actually very simple. Well, it's not easy, but it's simple. It's difficult to do, but once you do it, you see it's very simple. If you strive for something, and trust me, when you are in the position to start a family and you start a family, you will be striving for something, because there is no greater motivation, there's no greater wake-up call than having a child. Because I need to get my shit together now, because I'm the biggest influence on this new human being that there will ever be. So you will get your shit in order real fast when you have a child. If you are not a real piece of shit. So, how to change the past? You need to strive for something, and you need to change your life. You need to strive towards that future. And when you stay connected and you do it for future generations and also for past generations, you get out of that mindset of like me, but you start to open up. And when you start to open up and you start to connect, and that means spirit can also find you better because you have an open heart, and your ability to do something is always greater when you don't just work for yourself, but if you work for something that is greater for yourself. Future generations, past generations. You say the future 7 generations, the past 7 generations. You try to honor that. So you have that goal and you try to change your life. And if you stay connected to your kids, if you keep at it, you will change the future. And that future, well, there's never any future, they're just the past. Am I still making sense here? Are you still watching this video? I would like to believe so. So, the present. There comes a time where the present is changed completely. And if you change the present, you change the future by consequence. But you also change the past via redemption. So there you have it. On an individual level, having children can, if you're willing to go through the fire, just like the piece of iron would need to be sharpened in the fucking fire to make a sword or an axe, you too can be at peace with yourself. At a societal level, that's also, by the way, the case. A lot of our problems that we have in society are an indirect result of not enough children being born. We have a lot of problems with finding enough people to do the work in Europe at the moment, and part of it because people don't have as many children as we used to do, and if there's not enough children, there's not enough people to keep the work going. Eventually, society will completely implode. That's something they don't tell you on the TV, but is very real. And also the problem, what we have in Holland, people have one child and they helicopter parent that child. Have you seen this? They're like on top of the fucking child the whole goddamn day. The child can't breathe, can't fucking take a walk down the street without wearing a helmet and a padded jacket. Well, it's easy, just have 10 children. Yeah. Because you can't do helicopter parent with 10 children. If you have 10 children, I already have 3. It's like sometimes you just walk, yeah, whatever happens, happens. I'm busy. So if you like this kind of advice, feel free to like this video. Thank you for sharing this with me. Tot volgende week en ga met de goden.